Everyone was trying too hard to be seen. But her, she disappeared into the crowd and still made the most powerful man in the room stop in his tracks. An open-air gala. Lights hung like artificial stars, shimmering gowns, stiff smiles, everything choreographed like a live performance. Then came Malik Rhodes, tech billionaire, global icon. He didn't need an introduction. Every eye turned toward him, but he only looked at one person, a woman in the shadows, wearing a plain black dress, no lipstick, bending down to fix a loose wire on a string of lights. No one called her name. No one waited for her entrance. And maybe that's exactly why. Malik Rhodes couldn't look away. What they didn't know was this. She didn't end up here by accident, and he had made a mistake only she knew about. What do you think that mistake was? Why would a black woman, unseen by most, be the only one who could hold a billionaire's gaze? Put yourself in the screenwriter's chair, drop your boldest prediction for what happens next in the comments below. His name once headlined every major publication, Malik Rhodes, a pioneer in artificial intelligence. The man behind the company shaping both the future of medicine and space exploration. In 1 year, he created more value than a small nation. Every appearance sent markets shaking. Every nod launched a new industry. Some called him the golden mind of the century. Others called him untouchable. He entered the gala like someone used to owning every gaze. A tailored black suit, a lapel pin catching light. Every step captured by dozens of cameras. Guests shifted slightly as he passed, not out of fear, but to be near him, even for a second. No one dared to touch him. No one stood close enough to see what he was really thinking. Not far from the spotlight, beneath a faulty bulb, someone knelt quietly. Nia Carter. She wasn't there to impress. She was there to work. The black dress she wore carried no designer label, hair pulled back, no makeup, no jewelry, just a camera slung over one shoulder and a small light panel she was adjusting by hand. No one stopped to ask her name. No one looked her way. She wasn't meant to stand out, and didn't try to. Some guests brushed past. A few didn't even bother to avoid her, but she didn't step back. She simply leaned aside, adjusting the lighting for someone else, in a place where everyone fought to be seen. She chose to step back, and in that quiet, someone started to notice. Malik still stood at the center of the light, but his mind drifted off its usual orbit. He couldn't recall the greetings, didn't care for the hands reaching toward him, because his eyes had quietly locked onto someone who wasn't even looking at him. Nia was changing a battery on the light fixture, her fingers dusted, her focus steady. She didn't glance around, didn't make a single move to be noticed. She looked like part of the forgotten background, and yet, the only part that wasn't fake. Malik didn't see beauty. He saw stillness, and in a world built on performance, that one real thing made him pause. For the first time that evening, he felt something unfamiliar, curiosity, and a bit unsteady. Near the stage, 3 women arrived almost simultaneously. No introductions needed. They were used to being noticed. Sierra Blake, 3.4 million followers. Every step felt choreographed for the camera. A metallic gown, a calculated smirk. She didn't seek attention. She expected it. Avery Monroe, founder of an emotional AI startup. Her voice just loud enough to let growth and funding reach nearby ears, eyes always scanning, always. Every handshake intentional. Celeste Van Doren didn't have to say a word. Her last name opened doors on its own. One glance from her made people step aside. They all knew how this game worked. And tonight, they didn't come to lose. They just hadn't seen who they should fear. 3 women, 3 strategies, 1 goal. Sierra struck first. As Malik stepped away from the center, she glided past and accidentally spilled her drink. "Oops, I'm so clumsy," she said softly, just as the spotlight caught her face. Silk clung to her frame in a scene that felt staged, but passed as accidental. Avery needed no theatrics. She approached from the right, offering an idea mid-sentence. "Emotion-detecting AI is wide open. I think you'd be intrigued." No seductive tone, just sharp logic and quick thinking. Celeste stayed back. No rush, no words. She lifted her glass, tilted her head slightly, and smiled. She didn't strike. She waited. No one mentioned Nia. No one saw her as competition. And that was their first mistake. While everyone moved closer to Malik, Nia was crouched down, fixing a tangled string of lights. The tape had lost its grip, so she replaced it. No one asked. No one thanked her. She noticed a younger crew member struggling with a stack of chairs. Without a word, Nia stepped over and lifted one side, then returned to her light check. Each act was small, too quiet for cameras, too ordinary for names to be remembered. But in a place where everyone tried to stand out, she made people notice, by not trying at all. Malik saw it all, not because she wanted him to, but because not needing to be seen made it impossible to look away. Nia headed toward the stage lights with a backup bulb and extension cord in hand. Just steps away, a hand stopped her. A deep voice said firmly, "Ma'am, this is a VIP zone. Staff isn't allowed beyond this point." She didn't flinch, didn't ask why, didn't plead her case, just nodded once and stepped back. No one watched. No one noticed the look on her face, because to them, she was background, and background never belongs on stage. She still held the equipment. Light hit her shoulder, casting a long shadow on the floor. Her posture straight, not ashamed, only familiar, like this wasn't the first time, and Malik, just feet away, saw every second of it. Malik stood near the reception bar. He saw it all. The guard's gesture, the empty tone in his words, and how Nia didn't resist, just quietly stepped back. No one else noticed. The crowd kept sipping, smiling, trading words about deals yet to close. But Malik was different. He didn't watch the ones trying to impress. He watched the one being told to step back, who never bowed her head. He didn't intervene. Not yet. Not because of hesitation, but because for the first time, he wanted to understand what was stirring inside him. Sometimes silence isn't apathy. It's the only way to truly feel that something isn't right. His name echoed from the mic. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Malik Rhodes." Applause filled the rooftop. Cameras turned in sync. Every gaze fell where it was expected. Malik stepped up to the stage, composed, measured, but his eyes weren't there. Right before reaching the last step, he glanced left, to where Nia was coiling her extension cord unnoticed. No one else looked her way, only him. He offered a few polite words, thanked the hosts, the sponsors, but his voice lacked its usual weight, because at that moment a single question had taken root in his mind. Clear, unshakable. Why, out of hundreds pushing forward, was I only drawn to the one being asked to step back? A tray of glasses slipped from an elderly waiter's hands. The sharp sound of shattering glass cut through the hum of conversation. A few people turned their heads. No one stopped. No one knelt down. Except Nia. She moved quickly without a word, without being asked. She dropped to her knees and began picking up the shards. Bare-handed. Silent. Intentional. The waiter stood frozen, eyes wide with panic. She didn't look at him. Didn't wait for an apology. She simply did what needed to be done. Her black dress brushed the cold marble. Red wine stained her fingers. The floor reflected two figures, one bent, one standing, while the crowd kept moving. No spotlight, no cameras, no applause. But sometimes it takes only one person noticing to change everything. From near the stage, Celeste Van Doren watched. She lifted her wine glass, took a slow sip, then leaned toward the person beside her, just loud enough for a few to hear. "She looks like a janitor." A small laugh rose from a nearby table. Not because it was funny, but because it was expected. The kind of laugh people give when someone powerful says something cruel. Celeste didn't look away. Her eyes stayed on Nia, like she was staring at something that didn't belong. Nia remained kneeling, didn't look up, didn't react. Maybe she didn't hear. Or maybe she chose not to care. Malik heard. He didn't speak, just glanced at Celeste, then looked back at the woman picking up broken glass with bare hands. Some words feel light, but cut the deepest, because they reveal the entire room. Celeste's words didn't vanish into silence. They rippled. A few more chuckles followed, low, but loud enough for Nia to hear. A man adjusted his tie and smirked. A woman whispered to her friend, both glancing Nia's way. She didn't turn around, didn't walk away, but her hand, picking up glass, tightened, just slightly, enough to know she wasn't numb, but also that she was used to it. No one spoke up, no one pushed back, because in rooms like this, silence is how people protect their position. Malik kept watching, and this time his gaze was no longer calm. Malik stood on stage, bathed in light and soft background music, but his mind was blank. That voice, "She looks like a janitor." The snide laughs that followed. Nia's tightening hand still working in silence. 1 beat, 2. He stopped hearing the MC's words. Malik stepped down. No warning, no eye contact. The applause faltered. A few surprised glances. Cameras didn't shift in time. He didn't explain, didn't apologize, just walked straight toward the far side of the room, where Nia stood, quietly beside the lights. A man who once commanded the whole room was now stepping away from center stage, because sometimes, if you don't stand up at the right moment, you become part of the wrong silence. Malik didn't pause when he saw the security guard ahead, the same one who had blocked Nia an hour earlier. He walked up, slow but certain. Conversations around them stopped. The guard turned, briefly startled at who now stood before him. Malik wasn't angry, he just spoke. 1 sentence, clear enough for everyone to hear. "She's with me." No explanation, no names, no second time. The guard froze. His expression shifted. His stance changed. He stepped aside, nodded, and made room for Nia. She didn't move, didn't thank him, didn't raise her chin. She stayed calm, but this time, the whole room had started to look her way. Whispers began. Some guests leaned toward each other, puzzled. Malik stood at a secondary platform where the spotlight was weakest, but no one was looking at the main stage anymore. He scanned the room. Familiar faces, flawless clothes, eyes waiting for him to speak, to smooth over this strange moment. But he didn't retreat. He said just one thing. Short, clear, final. "If someone must leave because of how they look, then maybe I should go first." The crowded space fell still. No more clinking glasses. Even the music sounded out of place. No one laughed. No one nodded. Because everyone knew that wasn't a defense of one woman. It was a slap to the whole room. Every eye turned to her. Some waited for a thank you. Others expected a moment of emotion. But Nia did neither. She looked at Malik. Just a few seconds. No hesitation. No bowing. Then she nodded. Once. No words. No smile. She turned away, picked up her coiled cord, walked back to the lighting rig like nothing had happened. No one understood why she said nothing. No one dared to ask. Because some people don't need words to show gratitude, and some have lived long enough to know silence is the only way to keep your dignity. Malik watched her go, and for the first time that night, he realized he had just been taught something no speech ever could. Sierra rolled her eyes, took a sip of water, and muttered, "She's obviously filming something, creating a scene, playing the outcast heroine card." Avery smirked, half amused, half dismissive. Or prepping a pitch, staging humility, classic move. Celeste didn't respond right away. She swirled her wine, glanced toward Nia, then said flatly, "No one dresses like that unless they're trying to stand out in a different way." Their voices weren't loud, but just loud enough for nearby ears, and as always, they didn't need proof, just the seed of doubt. Nia didn't know. Or maybe she did, and chose not to respond, because in rooms like this, you don't need to shout to smear someone. Just say enough, and those who want to believe will. The energy shifted. Some guests had stopped smiling, but were still listening. And then Celeste spoke, this time not in a whisper. People like her should know their place. No one expected her to say it out loud, but she did. Every word. No filter, no regret. A few heads turned. A man froze mid-pour. A woman glanced around, unsure who would react. No one spoke. No one objected. Just a silence so heavy, even the music felt uncomfortable. Nia stood a few feet away, back straight, head turned. She had heard, but didn't look back. Celeste sipped her wine, still watching the woman she had just tried to humiliate, as if daring her to react. After that, no one laughed. No one added anything. Just a silence, long, thick, and far from accidental. Nia stood still, her back unbent. The light behind her cast a shadow across the floor. She didn't speak, didn't turn, didn't throw a glance or reaction. She simply turned, walked to the far end of the room where her camera sat, adjusted the strap, removed the lens cap, went back to work as if nothing had happened, not because she wasn't hurt, but because she knew anger was what they wanted. Silence. They couldn't control, and in that moment, among the powerful, Nia became the one person who didn't have to speak to make everyone listen. Malik walked slowly. He didn't speak right away, just moved past dinner tables and glances trying not to meet his. He stopped before 3 women standing together. Sierra, Avery, Celeste. None of them spoke first. Malik looked directly at them. His voice was low, but clear. Not all lights flatter. Some reveal. There was no music, no clinking cutlery, only the faint wind brushing the string lights above. Silence no longer belonged to Nia. It had shifted onto them. Malik didn't need to raise his voice, just one sentence, and the entire room changed. Have you ever watched someone be publicly humiliated? In that moment, were you the one who stayed silent, or the one who spoke? Malik turned to Sierra first. She held her smile, the kind trained to look good in photos. He didn't scold her, just studied her for a moment before asking gently, "You know your best angles? You know how to walk just fast enough for the cameras to follow? But do you still remember who you really are?" Sierra paused. The smile remained, but the warmth disappeared. Malik took one step closer. "When you perform long enough, sometimes even you forget what's real." No one interrupted. His words were like a mirror, held up in front of someone who thought they were the image. Now, she had to face the person behind it. Malik turned to Avery. She stood tall, glass in hand, eyes steady on his. He spoke slowly. No anger, just truth. "Your idea is smart. Solid model. Clear vision. But a great startup? Can't fix a frozen heart." Avery pressed her lips, said nothing. Her fingers tightened slightly around her glass. Malik looked deeper, voice softening. "Sometimes the deficit isn't in the pitch. It's in how you treat those with nothing to offer in return." Silence. No one spoke. No amount of business jargon could mask the moral gap he had just exposed. In a world of people designing the future, he reminded them, what separates humans from machines is our ability to value those unlike us. Finally, Malik faced Celeste Van Doren. She didn't step back, didn't flinch, just raised an eyebrow, like she was expecting a compliment, even now. He looked straight at her. No softness, no evasion. "Your family could buy a corner of Manhattan. Your name is carved into buildings, libraries, scholarships." Celeste tilted her head, gaze still defiant. "But a big name doesn't fill an empty heart." No one laughed. No one nodded. Only silence. Heavy, like the entire room had dropped a floor deeper, Malik didn't wait for a reply. He turned away, because what needed to be said had been. It wasn't an accusation. It was a final mirror, stripped of prestige, reflecting the truth they'd tried to hide behind reputation. No one said a word. No one raised a glass. No one met another's eyes. The room felt like someone had pulled all the sound out of it. The wind rustling the string lights now seemed louder than the soft background music, and slowly, every gaze began to shift. Not toward Malik, not toward Celeste, not to the stage. All eyes turned to Nia. She was still standing in the far corner. The light touched only half her face, camera in hand. She had never once tried to be seen, but now, she didn't need to step forward. She was the center, not because she said anything, but because in a room full of people trying to shine, she was the only one still enough to make them stop and look. 6 months later, a small park in Brooklyn, not too hot, not too cold. A breeze danced through rows of photos strung along the trees. The exhibit was called Soul Frame. No stage, no spotlight, just white frames hanging from rope swaying softly in the wind. People slowed down. Some paused long in front of each photo. No selfies, no loud voices, just presence. A child holding a camera with both hands, smiling sideways. An elderly woman cradling a bundle of greens, eyes steady on the lens. A homeless man shading his dog with a piece of torn cardboard. No filters, no color grading, just people, seen exactly as they are. At the end of the line, in quiet print, photographed by Nia Carter. The photos hung in neat rows. No gold borders, no signature in bold, just real moments. And because of that, they were beautiful in their own way. A brown-skinned boy laughing with eyes shut, holding a camera bigger than his head. A curly-haired girl seated on the steps, sketching with intense concentration. The frame was uneven, but her eyes caught every ray of sun. No vibrant colors, no presets, no retouching. Each image was a breath, slow, honest, unfiltered. Viewers didn't need captions, just to stand still and let their eyes meet the eyes inside the frame. For a few seconds, they weren't looking at a photo. They were seeing a version of themselves, before they learned to pose, perform, or protect. In the far corner of the exhibit, unnoticed by most, stood Malik Rhodes. No suit, no assistant, no one recognized him, and that was exactly what he wanted. Hands tucked in a worn coat pocket, he moved slowly from frame to frame. Just another visitor. No comments, no introductions. A little boy rushed past, nearly bumping into him. Malik just smiled, nodded, stepped aside. For the first time in years, he wasn't the focus of an event. No one asked about tech or stock prices or what made him Malik Rhodes. Tonight, he wasn't a billionaire, just a man relearning how to see, without brands, without titles, just eyes and truth. Nia was adjusting a tilted frame. The breeze moved the photo gently. Late afternoon light lit half her face. Malik approached quietly. Didn't say her name, just set down a small box beside her worn sketchbook. Gray velvet, no bow, no branding. Nia looked up. Their eyes met. No explanation needed. She opened the box. Inside, a simple silver ring. On the inside, engraved, "See beyond the frame." No diamond, no flash, just a symbol. For the right moment, the right person, the right truth. Nia didn't cry, didn't nod. She looked at him, then the ring, as if reading something that wasn't written, a message, not for the crowd, but for someone who'd stayed quiet long enough to see beyond the image. Nia said nothing. She just reached out, placed her hand gently on his. No grip, no tremble, just enough to hold the moment. Malik looked at her, not seeking approval, not asking for a promise, just standing there, not as a billionaire, not as a symbol, just a man, learning how to listen with his heart. There was no crowd, no cameras, no closing music, just two hands, in a quiet, windless afternoon, because sometimes love needs no words, respect needs no applause, and dignity doesn't need anyone else's permission. If you've ever chosen dignity over applause, comment, "I am Nia." Share this story with someone who's ever been dismissed for simply being real, and don't forget to subscribe, because there are more stories ahead, for those brave enough to be themselves.